Well, hi again, everybody, and welcome back to Be Simply Fit, the podcast where we dive into the science, techniques, and mindset on how we can get physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually stronger every day. My name's Jim Burns. I'm your host. I am a NASM certified personal trainer, senior fitness specialist, and a silver sneakers instructor. Each episode will focus on you and me because I need to learn all these things as well. So, grab your favorite beverage, get comfortable, and let's talk about how we can all remain simply fit and live a fuller and more vibrant life. Well, hi again, everybody, and welcome back to Be Simply Fit. My name is Jim Burns. I am your host. I look forward to spending the next few minutes with you as we discuss ways and methods that we can keep ourselves in good shape, healthy, and living vibrant lives. Now, our last episode, we were talking about the genetic narrative, and that was part one. We're going to be doing part two today. And we ended, with exercise as a lifestyle, not an event. That's where we ended. And just to rehash this just for a moment, beliefs about exercise have changed dramatically over the course of many years. And it wasn't uncommon, for a doctor to prescribe bed rest and minimal activities after someone had a heart attack. Advice that seems very, off the chart now, very shocking. And in the 50s, it was recommended and commonplace for heart attack survivors to remain physically inactive. And today we know the opposite is true. My father had a stroke. They told him, a minor stroke where it just affected his mouth, a minor stroke, they told him to go home and go to bed and avoid exertion. Well, the bottom line there is, that's when you need to be active. You need to be moving. They didn't have blood thinners back then, so they really didn't know what to do. They didn't know how to, maybe they didn't even know how to dissolve a blood clot. And during my cardiac rehab program, what I discovered was how many people actually hate exercise. And, they're in there, they can't wait to get their 30 or their 1 hour done, 30 minutes or an hour done so they can just leave. They don't understand that when they leave, that's only the beginning. They have to, continue to walk, to continue to increase their walking speed, watch their weight. They have to make sure that they pay attention. They don't understand that there has to be a lifestyle switch. And if we're going to switch our lifestyle, that will begin to affect our genetic narrative. Our environment will change our genes. And it's something we have to be aware of. Now, a lot of times people will come to me and they'll say, I don't have a lot of time to exercise. Well, I got news for you. You don't have time not to exercise. You need to exercise. But what I've discovered over the course of a long time, because I've been exercising since I've been 15 years old, and truly, it probably saved my life when it came down to the bypass surgery that I had. Now, there's three things that I'm going to cover here, and I'll start with the first one, and that's compound exercises. Compound exercises. Compound exercises are exercises that give you the biggest bang for your buck. It engages multiple muscle groups, and through, I'm going to say, 3 compound exercises, you can probably work your entire body. 1, the deadlift, the hex bar deadlift, where you basically get down on the ground now you can use a regular barbell. I use a hex bar. It's much easier. Look it up on Amazon. It's called a hex bar. It's for deadlifts. And you load the bar. Doesn't have to be loaded heavy. Okay, and you get down, squat down, put your rear end to the ground, and stand up lifting the weight. That's a deadlift. Now, you could do that with dumbbells. You can do that with anything that you like. You could do it freehand as long as you're lowering your rear end and you're standing up and you're driving off your heels. That's a deadlift. 3 sets of 10, 3 days a week, you'll be good to go. The next one is the squat, and the squat is important only because you do it every day. You sit on a toilet, you sit in a chair, you sit in your car, you do all these things. The squat is a compound exercise, and it's something that should be going on every day in your life, and you should be working at it with weights at least 3 times a week. That's exercise number 2. And exercise number 3, as I see it, is an exercise called the rowing motion. Okay, rowing motion, where you basically have weights. Okay, you bend over at the waist. You can put your knee up on a chair, and you basically act like you're starting your lawnmower. You just keep pulling back and forth, back and forth. Now, how does this become more compound? It becomes more compound if you use a barbell instead of a dumbbell. And there's a variety of different exercises that are compound. I only picked these 3 because they work for me. Bench press is definitely a compound exercise. And the difference between a compound exercise and a regular exercise like a bicep curl is you're working large muscle groups. And when you work large muscle groups, your body recruits to smaller muscles. And you can do, these 3 times a week, 3 sets of 10. Very simple. You can do them, in the morning, in the afternoon. As if you're getting older, you do a set in the morning, a set at lunchtime, a set in the afternoon. You break it up. That works as well. This will help you create a more resilient body. Remember to start with lighter weights. And by the way, if you're having any trouble physically, see your doctor and get clearance before you start doing any exercises. See your doctor, have him check you out, and get clearance from him. Because it doesn't do you any good if you're already sick or you've already got, your body is compromised, to end up getting involved in a program that ultimately, where you could have a heart attack or a stroke in the middle of an exercise. Get checked out. It's another thing that's very important, as we grow older, is seeing our doctor like maybe every 6 months or maybe every year, depending on how old you are. We're looking to create a resilient body. A resilient body will help change the genetic narrative. Use stairs as much as you can. They involve a great deal of muscle mass as well. And I'm just sitting here and I'm thinking about all the things that you can do. And I went over it, I think I went over it the last time. I love the farmer carry, where you pick up 2 dumbbells in your hands, you keep them at your side, and walk for anywhere from, 1,000 steps. Might take you 10 or 15 minutes. Get it done. It works. It helps. So when you go out in the backyard, as we spoke about in our last episode, and you got to pick up, bags of sand and mulch, and maybe you're pouring concrete or whatever, the exercises, help you mitigate the effort that you have to put in to do those things. The second piece of this, that's compound exercises, because that gives you an efficient workout. Then you have these micro workouts, where you don't go to a gym for an hour. They're 5 to 10 minutes long. They can be effective, especially if you have a sedentary job. For instance, I start most mornings with a quick routine of stretching, 20 air squats, and 15 push-ups. Now, that mini workout takes me 5 minutes, but it energizes me for the day. And you might do a few minutes of yoga during a lunch break, or a 10-minute body weight exercise while dinner is in the oven. Research now points to the fact that every short burst of activity can yield health benefits. One study found that just taking a 5-minute walking break every half hour during prolonged sitting reduces blood sugar spikes by 58% and lowered blood pressure between 4 and 5 milligrams. In another report, as little as 2 minutes of walking after a meal improved blood sugar levels compared to just sitting. So the lesson here is that consistency and frequency of movement matters more than doing your activity maybe all in one go. Now, there's a thing that's called NEAT, N-E-A-T, and that stands for non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And this is the energy you burn throughout the day that aren't burned during formal exercise. And I've shared this once, I've shared it 1,000 times. COVID has put us in a position where we're just used to deliveries. And I shared it earlier in the first podcast, where I said my mother would say, get in the car, we're going for groceries. We'd spend 3 hours walking around the grocery store. So NEAT includes things like walking to the store, cleaning the house, gardening. It may not feel like exercise, but it adds up. It adds to your steps. And NEAT is the energy expended for everything we do that isn't sleeping, eating, or sports-like exercise. You keep your metabolism purring along. Over time, an extra few calories, 50 calories here and 100 calories there, can make a difference in weight control and overall health. Some people naturally burn more calories per day than others just by moving around. So stand up and stretch, take the stairs, do a set of jumping jacks. It all counts. It all counts. And this is the key. The key is making sure that your genes get remodeled and they understand what you're trying to do, and you change their narrative. You can do this. You can do it. And it's something that everyone should work on. Now, we've talked about walking ad infinitum. There's nothing like it. In other words, you may not like high-intensity work. You may not like weightlifting. They're not really your thing. Take a walk is one of the simplest and most effective exercises you can do. And don't underestimate it. This activity can lower blood pressure, improve your heart, help in weight management, boost your mood, make you more creative. Now, these aren't intense workouts, but it's gentle on the joints, and it's accessible to everybody. Anybody can do it. The question that I often ask is, why doesn't everybody do it? This is simple, and I'm going to just go over one thing here with you. Often, what happens with people who are sedentary or even semi-sedentary, they reach a point either in their weight or they've developed some form of osteopenia or sarcopenia, meaning muscle and bone and muscle loss throughout the course of their life. Their joints hurt. They may have had a job like installing carpeting during the course of their lifetime. They end up with sore joints. And what begins to happen slowly, and then it creeps up on you, and before you know it, you say to yourself, I've got to exercise. And you go out and exercise, and it hurts a lot. And you give up because you don't like the pain that is involved with either walking, weightlifting, micro workouts, whatever it is, you just don't like it. That can be your point of no return. In other words, now you're not going to do it at all. But rest assured, if you take 5 minutes and start with that and go out for a 5-minute walk and give yourself 1 year, you will begin to change the narrative. Now, you may have hit the point of no return, but you're going to return just by doing that small amount of exercise. Then we have those who have reached a point of no return because of diet. And they have put themselves in a position where they can't move around that well because their weight is just too high. And when too high can mean for some people 350, but there are people that have gotten to the point where they're 400-500 pounds and they can't move. And I hate to even bring this up, but when you start to get to that point, you have to do something immediately. And I don't mean just a diet. You may need to go on a program, maybe even doctor supervised, to get the weight off, because you are going nowhere. And I don't care if you lose a pound a month, you'll lose more than that if you get on a proper diet. And you'll lose it over quickly first, and then it'll be a little bit harder as you move along, but you'll lose weight. Because what you're setting yourself up for if you continue, and again, I hate discussing this, is a very high A1C, which means your you're a diabetic. You're setting yourself up for kidney failure. You're setting yourself up potentially to have some of your toes removed. You're setting yourself up, if you're a man, for you'll never get an erection again. I mean, these are things that are going on because of the weight. And if I get 10 or 12 pounds, 15 pounds overweight, and I know it's time to dial it back, and you got to dial it back. You can't let yourself get any more than 5 or 10 pounds above your weight that's good for you, because what will happen is it'll just continue to grow. So please, if you are digging a grave with your knife and fork, stop it. I know it's hard. I know there's a lot of emotion involved with eating, but it has to be done. This is why most people don't do it. They reach the point that I call of no return. Don't let it happen. And don't let the creaky joints and the sore back, don't let that stop you. Do 5 minutes, 10 minutes, build up slowly until you can strengthen the muscles and joints again where you could exercise comfortably. You will be happy you did. Now, the health experts often talk about, 10,000 steps a day. But there are plenty of studies that are out there that suggest you don't need that many to see benefits. They talk about tracking over 2,000. They looked at 2,000 middle-aged adults and found that those who got about 7,000 steps a day had a 50% to 70% lower risk of death during the study period compared to those who walk less. In other words, moving from very sedentary to 7,000 steps a day can dramatically improve your health. Now, for some of the older folks, some analysis indicates that 6,000 to 8,000 steps per day may significantly cut the risk of a heart attack and stroke. The bottom line is movement is key. It gets better with, the more you do. If 10,000 motivates you, go for it. But if you reach 7,000 and that's all you can do, you're doing your body a world of good. An older couple enjoys a walk by the water. Younger couples love maybe going on a hike. If you have to go somewhere in town, walk there. Take the stairs. Take walk breaks. All of this is important. It's all important. Now, we've discussed diet. We've discussed it to a degree. And people, when they begin to discuss and worry about diet, they say, oh, this is going to kill me, it's restriction, and so on. All you have to do is decide what you want to weigh, okay, and eat that number of calories a day. So if you're 200 and you want to weigh 150, eat 1,500 calories, and you'll start losing weight. Eat good food, more fruits and vegetables, have more protein. Don't do anything that restricts your intake. In other words, you're going to eat carbs. It's going to happen. If you go on an unbelievably restricted diet right off the bat, you won't continue. Now, what I have found is that when I keep my blood sugar in check, in other words, between 75 and 100, I end up with less cravings. So you want to keep your blood sugar in check if in fact you want to lose weight. The other thing that's great for that is soluble fiber. And soluble fiber is found in a lot of things. You'll have to read labels. Metamucil is soluble fiber. You can buy soluble fiber tablets, but it can be found in your food, and you have to read labels to find out how much soluble fiber is actually there. So if you have some soluble fiber, what it does help with insulin sensitivity. And it also helps gives you a feeling of satiety. You're satiated. You feel better. So look to consume more soluble fiber. Sometimes you just got to make a couple of small tweaks, like don't eat at night. Control portions. Lay off of sugar. Things like that. But you have to eat with the mindset of longevity and eat long term. Don't say, I'm going to do this to get into a tuxedo. That doesn't work. It's a lifestyle that will change your narrative, and that's what we're after. And the last thing I want to talk to you about is just the whole idea of, mindset. And our genetic inheritance sets, a baseline, but it's not our fate. The emerging picture from science is very empowering. Through lifestyle choices, exercising regularly, staying active throughout the day, eating mindfully, and cultivating a positive, purposeful mindset, we can influence our gene expression. Now, I had a family history of heart disease, and I managed to mitigate it by paying attention, by exercising, and by watching my diet more times than not. See, heart disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's, that's the starting point, not the final word. Every healthy meal you choose, every walk you take, every time you manage stress or connect with loved ones, you're essentially telling your genes, let's write a different story. Over time, these small choices, they get compounded. And you get momentum that can override a genetic predisposition. The beauty of this approach, of what I'm sharing with you, between exercise, diet, paying attention, mindfulness, purpose, is all sustainable. You can all do it. There's no gimmicks, just consistency over time. Good habits that become second nature. And rather than feeling like a restriction, this lifestyle is enriching. And you'll likely find yourself with more energy, a better mood, and a greater zest for life. So focus on those everyday actions and keep the long game in mind. By changing the way you live in the present, you truly can change the narrative of your future. It's never too late to start rewriting your story. One step, one bite, and one positive thought at a time. My name is Jim Burns. You've been listening to the Be Simply Fit podcast. Today's March 16th, 2025. I am in New Jersey, where we are anticipating a nor'easter tomorrow. It's 60 degrees. Right now the time's 12:44. It's a Saturday. It's a Sunday. I'm sorry. Okay? I hope you enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Happy Sunday, as I usually say. And always remember to remain simply fit.